Well, everyone, it's time for us to go and take a look at the M4 Mac Mini and compare it against the M1 Mac Mini and see which particular Mac is the better one for you. Now, the first thing I can definitely tell you is that if you are going to go through and pick up any sort of Mac, the latest and greatest, the newest ones are probably always going to be the better ones for you. So I would probably recommend just going through and picking up those Macs if you do want the best Mac you can buy. But if you want to get a little bit of a better value per dollar, maybe a cheaper Mac that might be better in some ways, maybe not really better in any way, but just a cheaper Mac, then maybe the M1 Mac Mini is still a pretty good deal. So we'll look at both of these things, we'll compare everything we can kind of think about, but if at any point you want to go and pick up either one of these Macs, links will be down in the description. You can get them from there and you can help support the channel at the exact same time. Now, a very big thing to keep in mind here between both of these products is that number one, as you can probably see, a device like the M4 Mac Mini is a little bit of a different design than the M1 Mac Mini. So the M1 Mac Mini came out back in 2020, and within this type of device, first of all, it still looks very good. It's still a very premium feeling Mac. It is overall a bigger footprint than the M4 Mac Mini, but the M4 Mac Mini does, stand up a little bit taller. So it really is just up to you what you kind of prefer. For me personally, not really a big deal on either one, because you're just going to put it somewhere. But if you want a more portable one, then definitely the M4 Mac Mini might be the better one for you. Now, in terms of the design of the M1 Mac Mini, it still looks very nice. I think it still is like a very, very good looking Mac. With the back side of this Mac though, when it comes down to the ports, you're basically getting your power button on the back side, which is kind of a big deal now. You're also getting your two Thunderbolt, 4 ports on the back side. So that's really nice. These are USB Type-C ports. You're getting 2 USB Type-A ports. You're getting an HDMI port and a gigabit Ethernet port as well. So it is really nice that you are still maintaining those USB-A ports if you're into it. I think for a lot of people nowadays it's not really that big of a deal, but it is kind of a nice thing going on here. On top of that, with this type of Mac, you're also still maintaining your, your USB Type-C ports. Now it's only 2 of them, but you're still getting them on this thing, which is still a very nice thing to have. There are some big caveats, I would say, with this type of device. Like for one, you are basically not getting a 10 gigabit Ethernet port. This model is only giving you a single gigabit Ethernet port, which is great and everything, but if you want a little bit more capability, then that might be something you want to kind of think about. On top of that, when it comes down to this device, another very big thing to keep in mind here is that when it comes down to the M4 Mac Mini, this is a little bit of a different design. So for starters, number one, it's a smaller footprint overall. On the front side of this Mac, you are getting 2 USB Type-C ports. So this is great if you're somebody who wants to just go through and basically get a device that's going to be giving you a little bit more capability when it comes down to that whole entire, accessory port on the front side. That's a really nice touch. And you're also getting a headphone jack on the front side as well. Those things are really nice to have. And if I'm going to go through and pick up a device, it is a really nice thing to basically get that type of capability right there. And I'm a very, very big fan of it when it comes down to that side. Now, another very big thing to keep in mind here too is the fact that on the back side of the M4 Mac Mini, you're getting even more ports. So if you're getting the M4 model, you're getting 3 Thunderbolt 4 ports. If you're getting the M4 Pro, you're getting 3 Thunderbolt 5 ports on the back. So already you're getting more ports than the M1 Mac Mini on the backside. On top of that, you're getting 2 USB-C ports on the front, like we mentioned. You're getting HDMI port, you're still maintaining that, and you're also getting that gigabit Ethernet or 10 gigabit Ethernet port. And that right there is a pretty big difference. You're overall getting more ports on the M4 Mac Mini, and you're getting, I would say, just an overall better capable device on the M4 Mac Mini than the M1 Mac Mini. My favorite thing about the M4 Mac Mini is that you are basically still going through and maintaining that type of capability when it comes down to the ports on the front. That's a very nice thing. It's such a nice touch, and I love having that type of capability right there. So that is in and of itself a really nice thing going on for that type of device. Now, on top of that, another very big thing to keep in mind here is monitor support. So this was something that really bothered me like crazy on my M1 MacBook Pro and my other Macs that I had at the time as well. Basically, you weren't able to go through and connect your Mac to multiple monitors. You can connect it to like 1 or 2 different monitors and that was it. With the M1 Mac Mini, I think you can do one HDMI and then one another one. No, it wasn't even that. It was one 6K display or one display up to 4K. So that was an interesting thing. So I think you could do 2 different displays. So that was nice. With the M4 MacBook Pro, with the M4 Mac Mini, you can now get support up to 3 different displays. So that is a really nice touch here, and it is just a significantly better type of display, technology overall and capability than something like the, M1 Mac Mini. So if you wanted multiple displays, that is a really nice thing going on for this type of Mac when it kind of comes down to it. Now, on top of that, another very big thing to keep in mind here too is when it comes down to the price tag. The M4 Mac Mini as this point basically costs $599. The M1 Mac Mini was the same price, but now it's not available in the brand new market anymore. So it is going to be an overall cheaper Mac in the used market. So that is kind of a nice touch. Like if you were somebody who wanted to go through and like get a newer Mac and not have to spend that much money, well, the M1 Mac Mini isn't really that old. It's fairly new for the most part. And I do think that is kind of a nice thing going on for that type of Mac when it comes down to it as well. Now, when it comes down to the performance side, this is something that a lot of people are probably going to think about when they're going through and getting these types of Macs. So for one, the M1 Mac Mini basically can get up to 8-core CPU, 8-core GPU, and up to 16 gigabytes of RAM, where the M4 Mac Mini can basically give you, this is pretty crazy. It can give you the M14 CPU, 14-core CPU, up to 20-core GPU, and up to 64 gigabytes of RAM. What I can tell you, the quickest way of kind of summing this up is that the performance of the M4 Mac Mini is definitely going to be substantially better than something like the M1 Mac Mini. That's just kind of what's going to end up happening. That's the thing that makes the most amount of sense here. If you are going to go through and get a certain type of Mac, the M4 Mac Mini is going to be substantially faster in almost every single way you can imagine. Now, a very big thing to keep in mind here too is the fact that if you are going to go through and get something like the M1 Mac Mini, this thing is still very fast and still very powerful. But when it comes down to that RAM side even, like the RAM on the M4 Mac Mini is substantially more, like 16 gigabytes compared to 64. That is a very big difference. On top of that, when you're looking at both, right, you're probably going to compare both from a performance standpoint, from like an everything else standpoint too. And you are definitely in almost every single way getting a faster machine on the M4 Mac Mini. But even when it comes down to that storage, you're basically getting like 2 terabytes of storage on the M1 Mac Mini, where you can get up to 8 terabytes of storage on the M4 Mac Mini. That is another very big difference here. Like if you are wanting the overall better, faster performing device, this is going to be another area where you're going to look at and possibly feel like you're going to be getting a way faster machine on something like the M4 Mac Mini than the M1 Mac Mini. So that is in and of itself another very big difference here as well. And that's why I kind of look at both these machines as somewhat interesting like dichotomies. Because the M1 Mac Mini, I think, is still a very good machine. It's not terrible or anything like that, but you are overall getting a faster type of Mac on something like an M4 Mac Mini than the M1 model. If you are somebody who just wants to get a Mac and, get equated into the ecosystem and it doesn't really matter how fast it is, the M1 Mac Mini is still a very fast Mac. You're still getting Apple Intelligence. You're still getting a very fast Mac, and I think that speaks a lot to this type of device. But if you are, if you're not on a budget, if you're not constrained on like how much money you can spend, then I think an M4 Mac Mini makes probably the most amount of sense. It is a better machine in almost every single way you can imagine. But like I said, if you want to go ahead and if you have the funds to do it, get the M4 Mac Mini. But if you are on a budget and you want to save a little bit of money, I think the M1 model is still a very good deal when it comes down to it. So from that side, that kind of covers it up there. If you have any other thoughts or questions, please let me know in the comment section below. Hit the like button, that will mean so much, but definitely hit that subscribe button. More importantly than everything else, I love every single one of you guys. Hopefully I'll catch you guys in the next video. Peace out till then.